Hey, hey,
Hey Mo,
how you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm all right. We got a special guest today,
Who do we have?
former guest and friend of the pod, Adriele.
Hey
Woo!
friends. Brr, brr, brr,
Welcome.
Hey.
brr.
It's
How's
been a
it
long
going?
time.
I
Gosh, it's been
know.
what, 2 years?
Yeah,
Oh my
has it
gosh.
been?
I
Time
can't
is
believe it's been
flying. I
that
think,
long.
yeah, it's been at least a year and a half, 2 years, I think.
That
Yeah,
is crazy.
I
Mm-mm.
know.
Any new developments you want to share?
New development. Whew, Lord have mercy. Well, let's see. Right now, well, I'm still single. No surprise there.
Same.
Um, you know, um, Yeah, I'm going through an interesting period where, I've been an entrepreneur for almost 4 years now. Things that I thought I was so certain about and thought I'd be doing my entire life, which was diversity, equity, inclusion work. I'm just like over it. I know Mo was like, "Do you have a bio?" I was like, I haven't thought about how I even want to define myself right now because I don't want to keep leading with, DEI professional. I'm like, I do so many other things. So yeah, right now I'm just trying to lean more into all the creative stuff, creative work that I like to do. And I launched a book publishing company. I've published 3 books this year. So
Wow.
trying to do
Yay.
more of that and just see what
Yay.
happens and enjoy some peace. But yeah, real on brand with this pod today
Right?
because I did my first pop-up marketplace with some of my books this weekend, and I'm like lugging all this stuff, and I'm like, if I had a boo,
Mhm.
like, why am I carrying all these heavy ass books right now? Like loading my car up by myself, struggling with 30 bags. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, how did we get here? So yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how this conversation started on one of our lives. We were just talking about how being single,
Hmm.
it would be so much easier if we had someone to help, that support system, just the little things.
Yeah.
I know for me personally, I recently lost my job, so I have to depend on myself. Like there's no fallback, there's no cushion except for the one I created to
Hmm.
take care of me. And so it's just a little bit of extra stress. And I think it's a little bit of it's a relief, in my opinion, to have like a partner and to so not just support systems, but support systems within partnership. And I think that is a relief in life because I can't imagine if I got laid off and just had a partner. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, I could take my time, take a year, 2 years, figure.
I know people that are doing that or have done that, like
Mhm.
currently, and I'm just like, wow, I can't even imagine what that would even look like. They're like, oh yeah, my partner's still working, so
Mhm.
they decided to just take over, and I'm just gonna rest and recover. I'm like, rest and
Yeah.
recover. What the hell is that? What the hell? Like, that sounds amazing. Like, even a week, give me 2 days, like to do nothing. I can't even imagine what that would be
Oh, hell
like.
yeah. I give myself 2 days.
I need that. Yeah, no, but fur baby, like you breathe too hard, your apartment ends up in disarray. I'm just like,
Mm.
God, there's always something, like always something to do. So
This
You
is so
mentioned entre
interesting.
it was just like,
I'm like, this is interesting.
uh-huh.
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
goodness. Yeah.
you mentioned entrepreneurship, and it's
Yeah.
interesting because I know a few people who have partners who started their entrepreneurial journey and are thriving, and part of it
Hmm.
is because they had that support system to be able to say, I don't need to make that much. I can do what I have to do because I know I have someone at home. I have that stability to
Yeah.
help take care of the home and take care of the resources. And so I just think it allows for more creativity.
Hmm. It does. It allows for more creativity because you can take more risks, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think about it and I'm like, if I had a partner or additional support system, especially financially, I can't even imagine where I would be in terms of my business. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would have 10x'd it by now, but I don't. It's just me, and I see it. Like I have plenty of people that are doing similar work that have been entrepreneurs for roughly the same amount of time that I've been doing this, and the people that have partners, they've been able to like really thrive and develop these areas. And then I only have 2 other single entrepreneur friends, and similar to me, they're like, it's this constant like push and pull where it's like you can be super consistent for a month and a half, 2 months, and then you hit this kind of burnout, or you just need some support. You need someone that
Mm.
can like literally just be like, hey, you got this, give you that extra push. And it's not like I've never been one of those people that needs validation, but we're humans. We need support.
I do.
And so listen, and that's fine. Like some people do, right? But I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, if I'm gonna do something, I just go do it. Like, you know me. I'll be like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh
Mo, I'm
yeah,
doing
me too.
XYZ, and I'll be like, all right, I'm done. Like, here it is. But it would just be nice to have that little like, that little cheerleader, your little
Mm-hmm.
crew on the
Your
side to keep.
person.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know, hope I get to experience it in this lifetime. But I think this year, at least the past few months, I've been trying to like come to terms with the fact that like not everybody gets to experience that. That's just reality. Like
Yeah.
sheer numbers game. Like if we're playing data, like not everyone's gonna experience love in this lifetime. That's just what it is. So yeah.
I was just talking to my friend about that because we were looking at an article about touch starvation,
Mm,
and I was saying how, at this age, it's a possibility that I may die never knowing what it feels like to be in love.
mm-hmm.
It's a true possibility at this age.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. That's random, but one of the things I do appreciate about TikTok when I go on there, because child, my attention span, I can't. But I've come across people who are much older than us, like 70s, 80s, who have been like, I'm thriving and I'm single, or they're in the same boat. So I'm like, well, it's possible to go it's possible to live your life and not experience it. So I see you quietly in the corner. And what you got? What are you thinking about?
It's just interesting. It's interesting because it feels like a grass is greener conversation because I'm
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of it. And I feel like maybe it's a personality difference, but I feel
Mm-hmm.
like the stability and the support, I'm speaking financially, um,
Sure.
is can almost be a hindrance on your ability to take risks and go out and do stuff if it's not within you already. So I'm in a position now, my kids are all in school. It's time for me to figure out, okay, I'm back to me. Like, what am I going to
Right.
do? And I feel like I've been in this role for so long, caring for the household, doing the whatever wifely things. I have the
Mm-hmm.
support. He's very supportive. Whatever you want to do, let's do it, whatever. And I'm sitting here like, what the hell is that? And I feel like I don't have a fire under me in the sense that when I was single, everything was on me. And now I've
Mm-hmm.
gotten into a place in life where there is a reliance, there is a fallback or a person supporting me. And that kind of self-starting push to
Mm-hmm.
do has kind of been tampered a little bit. And so now it's trying to find a way to find that in myself again.
Right.
It is, the support is good, but then it can also take away that I got to do
Fire.
this. Nobody else is going to do it kind of
Yeah.
feeling, that fire.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I'm struggling right now. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I've done shows and like trade shows and things like that. And it is helpful to have like a dude just carrying your shit. You know what I mean? Like
Thank you so
that's
much.
the physical labor is nice to have that.
Yeah.
But I also think, I mean, not to knock my personal relationship, but I've had a lot of friends in relationships who have said this, and we've experienced it from time to time. I mean, a marriage is going to do that. But when you have someone you think you can rely on and they don't show up. And so
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when I was single, I could rely on me and I knew I was going to show up. So if you're putting that reliance in somebody else and they don't show up, you're fucked. You know what I mean? Whereas
Right.
you're going to show up for you. I mean, maybe. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if you're, but it's
Yeah.
also a trust that's, you know, I can trust myself to show up and do the things for me, but
Yeah.
so, I
No,
mean,
that
I
makes
don't know.
sense.
I don't know.
That makes sense. Do you feel like you had do you feel like you knew what it was what really drove you and like lit a fire under you before you got into a relationship? Or were you still searching for that before you got into your relationship?
I was in law school, and so I think I had this vision of what my future was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got married thinking, okay, we're both going to be powerhouse. We're going to do this, we're going to be, Michelle and Barack, we gonna do this.
Yeah.
But no, but then I got pregnant. And I feel like that piece too, because you were talking about friends who are entrepreneurs that have the support. And a question in the back of my head was, do they have children? I mean, I don't know, they may. But I feel like that messes up my equation too, because I feel like, and this is very much my personality, is I'm putting a lot of people before my desire, my career aspirations, that type of a thing. And so I don't know, it's just a lot. It's a lot of stuff. And I was thinking this morning, I was texting Mo and I was like thinking about support. We're talking about support. I'm not sure where this conversation is going to go, but I was like, man, it must be nice to be single, because if you want to take a shit and shower, you could go do that. Like, you don't have to put things in place before you go do your routine. You know what I mean? And so it's a lot of the simple support I'm talking about, just like time support.
Yeah.
And I have found, even though I'm adding more people to my household, like my parents moved in, that type of a thing, it didn't really alleviate that problem. It became more people to serve and to assist and help and manage, as opposed to I can go do that. I can go, if I need to run an errand, I can go do that without having to stress about it. So there's a freedom on both sides. We're talking about the freedom to go after what you want and have that support. But then there's also a freedom of, like, you're tied down to something. Which I don't know how to explain it.
Do you feel like no, it makes sense. It makes sense. Do you feel like you've set boundaries and expectations with people?
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
And I feel like that's the key, right?
Yes, right. And so, and
when I get ready to go take a shit, I'm not doing I don't care if there's kids around, dogs, animals, adults.
They don't care either, though. They will come to your door. Okay. The dog will come, the kids will be banging, mommy.
Listen,
and the
headphones
husband's
in
asleep.
5 minutes.
The husband's asleep is what I'm saying. So these are the times, like, mommy needs to poop. Okay.
God.
But no, the boundaries, I know I haven't done that. And that's something, I think when he and I got married, ideas of relationships, at least for me, were very different. I feel like there's been a huge shift in the way people think about their interpersonal relationship setting. Boundaries were not a thing. Like, to me, I didn't know about them 12 years ago. Like, that's so new to me. And so I'm learning about that. I'm reading books about boundary setting and, all of that type of stuff. And so that's just something that's on me. I got to set the boundaries, but it's also, we've been doing this has been the routine. So setting boundaries now looks a little, mommy, you're being mean. I need that, I need access to you all the time. Yeah. I mean, guilty, sort of, but it's gotta be done. Otherwise, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. And I've heard people say, like, yeah, it's nice to have the financial support, for instance, or your person there to encourage you and everything. But sometimes you also have the extra burden of that's an additional person to take care of. And then you also have to provide
that you need to support.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to provide that as well. So I don't even know what that would look like. I can't imagine. I feel like I'm a supportive person, but I can't imagine in a relationship, like, being someone's person and making sure that I'm there to support them and whatever they want to do. If they want to be an entrepreneur, am I going to be like, okay, yeah, fall back on me?
Right.
What if your aspirations don't line up too? Like, I mean,
I feel like that's stuff you talk about in the
follow
beginning.
the dream. But I mean, but things change. You can talk about all the things you want, but in the course, I mean, we've been married almost 12 years. Lots of things have changed, lots of goals, lots of your hobbies, your viewpoints on the world. I mean, in the past, 10 years, things have changed. So, I mean, you can talk to your blue in the face, but it's just a matter of just kind of navigating it together and hoping you're on the same page the whole way through, because, I mean, what if he wants to be like, hey, I want to explore this new opportunity that means that I need you to work, it can always change.
What would you do?
So, what would I do with what?
If your husband were like, yeah, I want to explore a new opportunity.
Well, I think that's one of the things we've talked about, talking and getting to know each other's values up front, is I know that that's not something he would do in our current setup. Like, we handle business or marriage very much like a business. I mean, obviously there's relationships and love and all that kind of stuff, but we're very business minded. We have business meetings. We talk about finances. We very business minded. So we are building up something together on the side. if that starts to take off, then, you know, he can transition, but there are responsibilities, you know, I can't just up and be like, I'm not taking care of the kids anymore. Like,
yeah.
What, you can't do that. So, but I mean, it's important to say, hey, your aspirations are valid. We're going to work towards getting you to where you need to be. And he's doing the same. I mean, he supports this podcast with it. Who listens? Adrielle's here. Who else listens? You know, he listens.
Hi, friends.
But he's very supportive of this, you know, so it's just, I mean, I don't know, I think it depends on the person too, the person, the people that are in the relationship, the person you've partnered up with, to ensure that you're getting that support. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Oof, yeah, but I don't know. I feel like I would be a good support system for someone. And there are things you talk about in the beginning, even if you change, you kind of have the fundamentals at least to know, like, unless somebody became a drug addict or something, they're not going to just completely drop the ball on life and be like, I'm done with everything, you know, like, but
then mental health comes into play also. I feel like things can happen in life that can change somebody, you know, depression, things like that can really change that fire that you were talking about, or that, you know, that showing up day to day. I mean, I think we've all experienced one way or another, just, you know, mental health, like how it can present. And so I think that adds another dynamic to a relationship too, as far as support. But I don't know.
Ugh, so many layers. It's so complicated. I will say, like, as I'm hearing you talk, as much as I complain about being single, I do appreciate that I've had this time to really get to know myself, and to just be comfortable. Like, I don't know, like, the more I sit with myself, the more I realize that people really are uncomfortable with being in their own presence, which is very terrifying. I'm like, if you don't like you, why the hell do you think I'm gonna sit there and like you? Like, and I think there's a lot of benefit in like having this extended time where I've been single, and, you know, I live alone, and so I work alone for the most part, right? Like, and so I think there's a lot of benefit in knowing like what I like, what I dislike, what irks me. Like, if I feel like something in my shoulders, I know it's anxiety, right? Like, I know all these small things about myself that I don't know that I would have known so soon, or that I would have, like, I probably wouldn't have known that if I was in a relationship earlier, because I would have been trying to learn me but also learn them and make sure that I'm being there for them, which is a commitment, right? It's something that you choose to do for another person. And I will say, I think I'm probably I am in a better place to now date than I was, I don't know, 10 years ago in my 20s. Looking back, I'm like, I wouldn't have dated me. Like, there was a lot to be done, and there's still a lot to be done, right? Like, I'm an ongoing work in progress. I think we all should see ourselves in that way. But I think where I am now, I'm like, okay, I want to at least have the chance. And yet I think Mo and we talk about this all the time. It's like, at least give me the chance, but it's like, it's just not happening. And it's not unique to us. I know so many people. I mean, we both know a good amount of single, amazing, especially women. And we're like, what is this? Like, an acquaintance of mine posted on her stories the other day on IG something about being single. And I was like, oh, I can relate to that. And she was like, I'm not a narcissist, but like, I think I'm a great catch. And I'm like, you are, from what I know. And I feel the same way. Like, we're not, you know, claiming to be perfect. We just want to at least try, like, get the shot. So it's tough. It's tough.
I know something you mentioned about getting to know yourself. That's something that I feel like is a hindrance for me, because I feel like I've spent so much time getting to know myself and being single. I never had my whole phase. I never had where I was just out there dating and, you know, my
the time
Sex
is
and the
now.
City state. Y'all know, like, I'll go on a date, then I won't go on another date for a year, you know. So it's just like it hasn't been very consistent. But what has been consistent is me being with myself, and especially with the pandemic. And even though I was with myself in the past, I wasn't really getting to know myself. And the more I get to know myself, I'm just comfortable in my own peace. And it's just, I'm so comfortable that I almost feel like I'm not really making the effort to date, because I'm just so peaceful. There's no conflict. There's just peace. And so finding someone to add to the peace is important, but how do I get there? I have to go through the stressful part of dating before I get there.
Yeah. it's frustrating. It's like how many times, at least for me, I have so many bad negative dating experiences, and
Mm.
I try so hard to like not let it, I guess, tarnish my view. I don't know what a better word is, but like I just try so hard to be like, okay, not everyone's going to be like this, not every situation is going to be like this. But to your point, Mo, it's like this is peaceful. Like,
Mhm.
why do I want to disrupt this? And I already have the stress of, I said early on, this transition of trying to figure out what it is that I want to do next and how I'm defining myself. And I mean, that's a process. And yet also I look up and I'm like, oh, but the clock is ticking. And so
Mhm.
I also want to experience, love in life. And I think we often get caught up in the day-to-day things, especially when you're single. And at the end of the day, like I can do all this amazing work and create all these creative pieces and make money and all this stuff. But I think most humans, when it boils down to like your final days, is like, was I loved? Did I get the opportunity to
Mhm.
be loved? Like love is a driver. And I'm like, I really want to experience that. And I just haven't cracked the code of how do I apply my work ethic that I have to my professional life, to my entrepreneurship, to dating. Do I do that? I don't know. And then I hear people that are like, oh, I just walked outside or got on the train and I
Mhm.
met my person. I'm like, I'm
I heard you
outside
have
all
to
the damn
stare them down.
time.
I heard you have to stare them down. Just stare at
Oh
them.
no.
Not the eyes. I
I
mean,
wonder. I mean, you
oh
guys are
goodness.
talking about creating your peace, and I feel like there's a lot that I've learned through the course of this podcast, that just about codependency and about boundaries. We were just talking about all this stuff, and I wonder. I mean, I got married at, I think I was 32. We started dating when I was 29, and I feel like very codependent at that. And I wonder if that's a piece of it, is you guys have established your peace and your stability in your homes and your careers, and you don't want that disturbed. Whereas younger you may have, maybe, I don't know, I did, found that peace and stability through somebody else. And that was
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? Like I
Mhm.
didn't have it in myself. Nobody, people aren't comfortable with themselves a lot of the time till they get older and get to know themselves, get to come to peace with themselves. So I wonder if that could be a piece of it too, is as you're getting older and you're establishing the world, the home life that you want, it's very
Mhm.
hard to find somebody who's going to come in unless you are a codependent person. I feel like being codependent makes you latch on a lot,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
so when you're an independent, fulfilled person, you're not going to settle for the bullshit. You know what I mean? You're not going to settle for, or you're not going to get past some of them bad dates because you're not hungry for anything. Do you know
You're
what
not
I'm
Mhm.
saying?
desperate. Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of relationships I got into, I was just hungry for partnership. I was hungry
Mhm.
for somebody to tell me they loved me, somebody, whether they did or not. And
Mhm.
no, I mean, those ex-boyfriends were a mess, but it felt good to me to feel like I have somebody, and I think older me would be like, hell no. Like looking back,
Mhm.
you're like, what
Yeah.
was I doing? Um,
Same. I can relate to that.
so I wonder if
Yeah.
that's, I mean, I've heard the horror stories too, because I feel like dating now, I don't know what these men are up to, what is happening, who raised them. But
Ooh, child.
I think the combination of coming into your own and not being codependent, not looking for validation from a man, and then having them not step correctly, is creating just like a horrible situation as far as trying to find that partnership, because none of it's lined up to make it so. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing like I think one of the challenges that I hate talking about the whole like feminine masculine thing and all of that, right? But patriarchy is very real. Like
Yeah.
my grandmother needed to be married to open a bank account when
Right.
she got married, right? That in the grand scheme of things, that seems like a long time ago, but it really wasn't. The lady is, still out here talking about her marriage with my grandfather. So like um, like now we don't need that. Like I don't need you to
Mhm.
literally go open a checking account, right? I don't need you to sign for an apartment or get a mortgage or whatever it is, right? And so I think when you get to that point of independence, and I will say for me, my independence, I feel like it was kind of forced. I had no choice. It was like either you become independent or you just out here like in these
Right.
streets. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like I needed to become independent to take care of myself. So like in my mind, I don't see any other world or any other option. So but I definitely relate to when I look back at previous relationships, especially in my 20s, it was because I wanted some sort of connection. I was desperate for that. I wanted to, and that's what I was supposed to do. And the amount of things that I should have cut people off for, I didn't at the time.
Right.
Now looking back, I'm like, child, I know absolutely not. I wouldn't even bat an eye in that direction. Like, because again, going back to what Mo was saying about peace, like if you can't add on and be a part of this, why would I want you to come in and disrupt it? That's silly. And then I also think about all of, well, not all, but a good majority of my current relationships with people, like people in my family and friends, and how much work has gone into that, and like how there generally is a pretty good level of peace, and like communication has gotten stronger. And so if I'm dating you and you can't even meet that, like I I don't have the patience to teach people how to
Yes.
communicate effectively. We all have these giant computers and this little bitty thing. You better go research and learn some communication skills. Like I'm already doing that for a living. Like I really struggle with it, and I'm like I had to learn, and I hate the whole like, well, I had to struggle, you did too, right? We've talked about this before too. And there's room where, you know, you allow people to grow, but I think people have to come in with a willingness and at least some baseline understanding of how to try to effectively communicate. Like, I can't do passive aggressive. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know. Like, you can't, we don't have the same love languages, you know, like, and that's something to acknowledge. Just because you like gifts doesn't mean I don't want any gifts. I got enough junk in my apartment to take care of. Like, come carry these books to this vendor, to this marketplace for me, right? Like
Yes,
acts of
service. Yes.
yeah, and so many people are so, it feels like unwilling to even learn about what you like and what your needs are. And if you don't, you know, show gratitude for the way that they're displaying love, they get upset or want to call you ungrateful or something like that. So it's just like all these levels to it where, again, I come back to, yes, I would love to find a person, but I'm not desperate. I'd rather protect my peace and stay single and live vicariously through folks like you, Em, and other people. And
ask Mo, she was just here. I don't know that you want all that.
Listen. Yeah. It's hard. It's so hard.
How do you know when to draw the line? And I feel like it's a level of maturity that I don't have, but not everything is going to be perfect when you're getting to know someone. And I feel like as soon as something doesn't fit what I want, I'm immediately done with the person, because I feel like how it's like, I don't know, like I'm not bought in enough to know whether it's worth fighting for at that moment, you know? So how do you know what's worth saying, like, this is my boundary, or this is or I disagree with that, versus just being like, deuces, I'm out, you know, because
it's difficult, especially if it's like early on with you talking to someone. I feel like I was kind of in a situation recently. You kind of you know a little bit of it, but I was talking to this person earlier this year. It just wasn't going well, so I was like, I can't do this. And then they just popped up recently, which I was like, is this because it's cuffing season, it's cold outside? But I was like, let me be patient and see if anything is different. It was different for like a week and a half, and then it wasn't different. It was the same stuff from before. I know, right? Promising, but not. But for me, I think there are certain things that I think are they're must-haves for me. Like, this is a value, you know, respect, for example. Like, if I go on a date with you and you're not kind to people, or you don't say thank you to people, we're already, there's nothing like,
okay,
because like that's a wrap for me. But if it's something like, you know, you were short in your communication, or you didn't explain why you were upset, for me, I'm like, again, I want to try to give people the benefit of the doubt. So I would be like, hey, you did XYZ, this is how it made me feel. Maybe that wasn't your intent. Like, let's have a conversation. And if we have a conversation about that and we come to a point where it's like, all right, I'm going to try to do this different, and then we move forward and you do it differently, great. That means we keep building. But if we move forward and you keep repeating the same behavior that I already told you bothered me, and I have to keep repeating myself, I'm not going to keep repeating myself. Like, because that to me is like, you don't respect me enough and you're so caught up on yourself. That means you can't be a partner, because you're going to still only care about what works for you, and you're not going to give a damn about my needs. So things like that to me are like red flags. Like the whole like, like, do you want to go to Cheesecake Factory? Like, Child, y'all worry about the wrong stuff. I want some
Yeah, that's
Cheesecake Factory
stupid. Yeah, I'll
pasta.
go.
You
I'll
know,
have some
although I
mocktails.
will say though, as somebody who like us who's a foodie, I'm like, if you don't know that about me and you decide, like, we live in New York or major cities, Philly, New York, wherever, like, if you don't know that I'm a foodie and you decide to take me to Cheesecake Factory for a first date, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna feel disappointed because I'm like, we could have went to the mom and pop store right here, like, that I really like, that probably is a third of the cost of Cheesecake Factory. So it's more so about effort and not and actually listening and knowing the person you're dating versus just picking something by default to be like, to check a box and say I took you on a date. For
Yeah,
me,
if they
so.
know you're a foodie, because if they don't know, then you can't fault them for bringing you to.
No, but did they ask questions or were they just like, this is where we going by? I don't
Because
know. I
I
guess it
see that's
depends on your preferences.
and that's another reason I'm single, because I'm gonna be like, did we? You didn't ask me if that's where I want to go. I don't feel comfortable. I mean, I wouldn't. I probably would be fine going to the Cheesecake Factory. I mean, Applebee's.
Okay, so here's a question. I know we read it short, but like, do you think, because we talked about patriarchy, do you think that some of this is like, what are men supposed to do versus, because we're raised up to think a certain way, whether it's indoctrination or we're programmed, whatever. Men are the same. So if he says, I think women like to take me to take the initiative, I'm going to say, I'm picking a restaurant, I'm going to pick you, be ready at this time, I'm going to do it. Do we like that? Do we not like that? Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes if they get it right, we love it, right?
Mhm.
Yes, you took me to the mom and pop, you know exactly what I want. But if they don't get it right, but then for them, how do they, I mean, they do need to pay attention and stuff. I'm trying to think of it from two perspectives. This is in our relationship. I'm trying to think from his perspective a lot of times, because I just don't sometimes, because I'm in my own stuff. But I wonder, for the men who are making an effort, but getting it wrong still, do we fault them for that, or do we take a little time to correct them on that? You like the energy, the initiative, right? We like that. Women, I think women like that. Like, hey, I'm going to take you out, and if they get it right, it's so nice. If they get it wrong, we're like, why did you do that? So I wonder.
Yeah.
Oh damn!
What?
Why did you do that?
Well, yeah. Why are you taking me here? You know, like they should know you're vegan, Mo. Right? They should know
people
that
have
from
done
jump.
that, and they're like,
they
oh,
should
I
know
forgot.
that.
Yeah, they've done that before.
You know,
I
so
think
that would
really
be like
depends.
you don't know.
Yeah, like I think it's easy to like
thoughtful.
group people together, but I think it also depends on the individual as well, right? I think there's some people that are going to be like, yes, go plan everything, I'm cool with whatever you decide, and then there are going to be other people that are going to be like, make a suggestion, or here are a list of things that I like, right? Like the last
is that
person...
something you lead with though? I mean, I'm just, because the dating thing is like interesting to me. I love it. So are you leading with that? How do they know that you want to talk about it and plan together versus take the lead? Like on a first date, I'm not even talking about later on. I mean,
I think it depends, right? I think if they're unsure, this is where communication comes into play. I think I would so much rather a person be like, hey, I really want to take you out and do something nice, but I just don't quite know what just yet. Like, maybe you have some suggestions, or at least just give me an idea of what you would like to do, right? Like the person that I was recently dating, it was similar to that, where we had a conversation. It was like, okay, one of the challenges when we first tried earlier this year was like, he was like, oh, I wasn't really sure what you would like, and I was like, easy fix, let's make a shared list. So we made a shared list of things
I love that
that we both like haven't done or that we're interested in. And as we were adding stuff to this list, it was like, oh, I didn't even know you would be into that. I'm like, yeah, and vice versa. Waste of a list now, because but the point is like like the idea, like that idea of having a shared list made it so much, it took that pressure off of him to be like, oh. And then same thing, like, because I also believe in taking guys on dates too. Like the first date, I'd rather a guy
y'all hear
leads,
that
yeah, no, I'm gonna like that. I like doing that, like planning nice things for people, like in my life. That's something that I like to do. So and I want it to be something you would enjoy. So again, it was nice to see his interest too. But yeah, I think again, communication is key. If you're unsure, like why, it's like I see people in relationships, especially someone on the outside looking in, and I'm like, all these things could be avoided if y'all just talk to each other, act like you like each other. Because it's like, oh my God, I don't know if this person's gonna like this or if I should do that. Go ask them. What?
Yeah, that seems immature to me. Yeah, open your mouth. Okay, it's like yeah.
I think it's a fear though. Like people are afraid of like how people are gonna react, or is this person gonna leave me? And I'm like, I never want to be in a
Leave.
Let them
situation where I'm
go. Let
afraid.
them
Yeah.
go. Yep.
Exactly. Like if it's this
Bye.
easy for you to leave me,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Deuces.
see you later,
Yep.
friend.
Then
Like,
you weren't really there to begin with. If it's that easy to leave,
exactly.
you weren't even there. Dang.
Exactly.
But tell
Oh.
that to 20-something-year-old Adriele or 20-something-year-old Em or Mo. You know what I mean? Oh, they can't leave. I gotta,
Right.
Oh, you know, 20 something Mo was ridiculous.
Yeah,
And
Oh goodness.
I think it's because I didn't have modeling on like what a relationship should look like. And I was
Mm,
basing off of fairy tales and TV and everything like that. And then reality was in the middle. And I was just like, anything was a sign of disrespect. Oh, you didn't return my text immediately? Disrespect. Bye. Blocked.
dang.
You know, just psycho.
Not the blocked. You were blocking them like that.
Yeah, I would block people. Like I wouldn't even just
Sheesh.
stop because I didn't want to. It was almost. It was like my ego didn't want to know that they never would respond again or something like that.
Mm,
cut them off
I
before they
get
could
that.
do anything.
Or
Yeah.
I
I get
ghost
that.
and not block them to see if they would contact me, and then I was like, "Oh, they didn't contact me, so I could have been dead, and you didn't contact me." You
Oh
know,
no.
it's
The
like these stupid
extremes.
games. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Aren't we glad we're not in our 20s anymore?
Yes.
truly, truly.
Ooh.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Freedom. But I would like to get
Indeed.
booed up. So if anyone's available, hit me up.
Anyone,
Same,
if anyone's
same.
Did you
available.
see my
Not
post?
anyone, but
Did you see my post? I was like, how y'all gonna have single available friends and relatives and not set
Yeah.
me up?
that part.
Disrespectful.
I'm starting to question. I'm like, is it me? Because I'm like, I got all these
Yeah.
friends that are booed up. What is happening? What is
Hmm.
this? I don't
It's
know.
mutual friends is the way to go.
That's what they say.
Yep.
Any final
Shall
thoughts?
see. No.
No, this was good. I feel like we're gonna need a part two though.
I know. I
Yeah.
know.
Right. I want to hear more about this boot up life, M.
All right.
It was all right. Oh goodness. Good
Oh,
time.
goodness.
Bye.
All right.
All right,
Bye.
y'all. Bye.